Welcome back to another episode of NEOSOULED Radio. I'm your host, Kyrie Nashim, aka NEOSOULED, and we are here with C4MR.
Yes, sir.
So, can we just get you to let us know who you are, a little bit about your background, where you're from?
Yeah, for sure. C4MR is my initials, but I turned it to an acronym. One of the AKAs is like acronym advocate. Captivating abstract mediums relentlessly is the acronym for C4MR. I've used it for anything. It's universal. I just stuck with it and ran with it ever since.
So you said captivating abstract mediums relentlessly.
Yes, correct.
I like that. And can you let us know the various artistic mediums that you use?
Definitely. I've always been artistic in many forms. Super early at the age of like 5 or 4, starting just drawing stuff. I've always been drawn to drawing and making things physical. That's kind of like where I started becoming creative. My parents noticed that I was left-handed. Left-handed people, we tend to use the left side of our brain for creative usage and stuff like that. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
interesting.
That kind of put a battery in my back in terms of like being prideful that, I use my left hand and stuff like that, because my Lola, my great grandmother, she's very like
superstitious?
She's very superstitious, exactly. So there were times when I was doing my homework when I was little, my parents would have me do my homework like where she wasn't at, just because she was very militant about like being like religious, you know what I mean, and saying that the left hand was quote unquote like the devil's hand, apparently. So
I never knew people were that into it.
Yeah, I guess that deals with like being Filipino. That's like another huge thing that I think portrays in that.
I know you started off in drawing, and I'm curious as to how that translated into your clothing design and your music and all of that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've always been into like drawing. I think I knew that I was talented when one time I was on a plane with my mom and I drew a Street Fighter character, and I was only in like the 4th grade. So I was like, yo, I drew this from my head, like just looking at things. So getting into music, I have an older sister. She's 3 years older than me. And when we wake up, we eating breakfast and watching MTV or BET music videos. You know what I'm saying? I was always just locked in on what's new and stuff like that. And plus my parents had me at a young age. They had my sister when they were 18 in the 90s and had me when they were 21. That plays a huge part in, my musicality. My mom had listened to a lot of like 80s freestyle music and stuff, right? And my dad was listening to a lot of rap and hip hop, and my mom was too. Just all these cultural things, and then just me soaking it all in at such a young age. None of this is like new to me. I woke up living and breathing like those type of things, you know what I mean?
It's been with you since a childhood, basically.
Exactly.
Raised around it. Were your parents artists themselves, or?
My dad was. I mean, my mom's also an artist too. My dad was more on like a tagging side. He's not like a Dregs one or nothing like that, but he's been around things. So there's old like VHS tapes of like my pops like breakdancing or like pop locking and stuff, or like
my dad too.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fun. That really inspired me because I've done everything in hip hop. I've drawn, I've danced, I've made music. I've done everything that there is that's a part of this hip hop culture. My biggest thing was, how can I, in this form, do it to the highest peak of like what others are considered to be great as? You know what I'm saying?
How can you push forward the culture? How can you advance?
Exactly.
And what have you found?
Mainly like music. I mean, yeah, like I did photography for hella long. I've been doing it since like 2014.
Man.
Yeah.
So it's really about what haven't you done?
No, seriously. One of my biggest things that like I take pride in is that I'm a very quick learner. I can learn things quickly. It's a matter of like, what am I still pouring myself into? What are the things that really matter most? Most of my time as a photographer, I'm taking pictures of these dope artists and everything, and it was also a way to connect with newer people and everything like that, and I loved it, right? But the thing was, I always had that thing in my mind, like, bro, like, I need to be up there.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I really had to take a look in the mirror, especially 2020. Mainly 2020 was really like the breaking point of like, tomorrow isn't promised. You have to make these certain moves now, because there's going to be a time and place where people aren't going to perceive things the same anymore. You know what I'm saying? Since I'm here and I know that I'm in this present moment now, why not plant these seeds now and just see where it takes me. You know what I mean?
Right. You don't want to have like analysis paralysis where you're just waiting and waiting for that perfect moment or for your perfect piece to come out.
Right.
Doing it now.
Exactly.
You said that you came to this realization around 2020, 2021. Was it the pandemic that had you have this shift of mindset, or was it other events?
Mainly the pandemic. There was a moment in time we was talking about my mom's and how she has some health problems. There was like an incident where we thought she may lose her hearing, and this was like right before the pandemic, right? And one of the things she had said was like, "Oh no, not again." When the pandemic happened, during this time, like my dad's like getting like his medical degree, and so he's literally about to start working. You feel me? And then the pandemic happened, so he literally had those same exact words out his mouth. And when I heard that, that was just like an epiphany for me, because I was just like, whoa, like this is literally a reoccurring thing that has happened throughout, you know, my mom and my dad. And for them to both say that, that was the biggest pinnacle.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah, I know it's hard when you have those instances. And like you said, it made you realize that tomorrow isn't promised and that you have to utilize these gifts now. And in that, is your family at a better place?
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely at a better place. I mean, we still, you know what I mean, getting things together. But yeah, we're definitely at a way, way better place. Ultimately, myself. You know, my early 20s, I was being super, super reckless, being like in a teenager phase or whatever, right? I went to middle school and high school in Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, so like out there, my dad was working overnight a lot. So yeah, I had my pops there. My pops was always there for me, you know what I'm saying? But the absence of him not being there during the day, that had caused me to rebel a lot. Partially, I do take blame for my mom's stroke just because I was just being hella bad, bro. Like, I was being super reckless. It was really bad. I didn't realize like how much it had affected my surroundings until the time of when my mom did have her first stroke. You know, there was a lot of things after that too, but yeah, that was a big moment in my life.
Again, thank you for sharing, and it's good that you're mature enough to take accountability for your past, but
yeah,
I think the other side is balancing that out with the fact that you can't control everything, you know.
For sure.
Things just go down and they're out of our control.
Yeah.
But going back to your time in Vegas, how was that adjustment? Were you coming from the Bay Area when you moved, or?
Yeah, my mom was from the Philippines. My grandparents got a visa, so that's how they moved to Daly City. My pops was actually born and raised in San Francisco.
Okay.
My grandpa, that I'm named after, he served in World War II. That basically enabled them to be able to move from the Philippines to San Francisco. Fast forward time, that's when I became a thing. So then from 1 through 10, I'm in Daly City, top of the hill. I consider Mission just in general like my home, because it's like, yeah, I lived at like top of the hill, but then my grandma on my dad's side is at Excelsior, you feel me? So it's like, it's literally not too far from top of the hill, you know?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, definitely. When I reached to the age of 10, there was a big spike in like homes being built in Vegas. My parents are still like young and still trying to figure it out. They basically just haven't left the nest yet, so that's what caused us to go with them. So we're living in this house and everything, and mind you, this house is like hella big and stuff, and I'm just like, yo, I'm not used to this, right? And I'm just like, all this space and stuff. Yeah, there was nothing out there or whatever at first. It was like everything was being developed. It was so crazy. I was like, dude, I don't even have a bike. Like, what do I do? My best friend was my PlayStation at the time, you know what I mean?
So it's kind of depressing.
It was just so different. I had to understand where I'm at. Going from things that were so like very city-like. Not saying that Las Vegas isn't a city, but like it's way more spread out. And where I lived at specifically, everything was just being built. When I moved to Vegas, we were actually living at this spot called Budget Suites, which was like a beat down, cheap motel type shit. So I was living in that motel probably for like 2 months before a house was finally built. I was there middle school, high school. It was interesting. Even though I was in Vegas, because there wasn't too much Vegas culture, I didn't know what was Vegas culture because like I'm so far from it. I was just still in the loop of like Mac Dre and like anything that was on YouTube about the Bay Area. I was just always just hey man, I'm from the Bay. Like, you know what I mean?
Never lost touch of your roots.
Never did. But I do consider Vegas a home too. But I would definitely rather reside out here.
And so do you feel like having this colorful background of being from various places, moving around, and having those periods of living in a motel or living somewhere that's not completely developed, you feel like this affects the way you relate to people? Is it easy for you to connect with people from different areas, different backgrounds?
Yeah, for sure. Especially people that have similar struggle stories. Being in the similar like environment that we're in, I'm gonna eventually, relate to somebody that's like around me. I've always been a kid that wanted to hear new lengths of life, no matter what it was. My sister and my mom always knew that I was a very talkative person. Mm-hmm. I just always wanted to hear from a new person or just see who they are. I'm just a very curious person, and that's never changed. I've always had that,
And so you mentioned your struggles. I'm curious, when it comes to your art, do you find that artistic expression is a means of channeling the struggles that you've been through, or do you kind of avoid putting that into the art that you make?
I love putting it into my art. Sometimes it's more of an instinct of just being dope, but then also I have actually like implemented that a lot more as of now as an artist. But yeah, I can tell when my paint strokes are a little rougher than others. You get what I'm trying to say? It's definitely played like a therapeutic aspect of things for sure.
What other obstacles have you encountered in your creation, in your process?
Just getting over the hump of just doing it, if that makes any sense.
Getting out of your own way.
Yeah, getting out of my own way, I definitely over-exaggerate sometimes. And I think that kind of deals with also like in high school being bullied. I knew this kid from like the 5th grade when I had moved to Vegas, right? So we grew up with each other, right? Never an issue or nothing like that. He was a class clown or whatever. And I think the reason why he started bullying me is because he understood the amount of potential that I had as a person. You feel me? Because I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are you just now doing this? You know what I'm saying? And then like me being someone that's raised off of like, my dad that's somewhat of an OG, I didn't want to tell on nobody. You feel me? So I'd always had kept it a secret. It wasn't until like recently I had called one of my homies and I just had to like let it out because I never had told my friends about it. And it just came to a point where, like, I need some closure from this. You feel me? With bullying, it does come with some PTSD with it. You feel me? It may not. It's something to very, like, just be accountable for. Because that can really play a huge part in someone's lives and they don't even know about it. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I totally relate to that. And especially when you say that people can see something within you that you don't even see in yourself. You know, good things, positive things. Some people will see that and they'll use that as a means to support you, and other people will target you just because of that.
Yeah.
And, like a common theme that I've been experiencing lately is just recognizing that no matter who you are or what you have, people will be jealous of you. Just
for sure.
Especially if you are being yourself and you're putting yourself out there and you're comfortable in yourself. And I applaud you for not using that as something that has limited you. It sounds like it's something that motivates you and energizes you.
Yeah, I mean, for a second, it definitely was holding me back, but I always like knew that I was dope. I always knew that like I have certain powers within me that I can just bring into the world. It sucked during the moments and whatever, and it's been held inside of me for the longest time, but like 2020 has definitely been like the most self-reflected time of my life to let those things go. I had deep talks with my dad, and mind you, me and my dad have not been on like the best of terms or whatever, just because of all the stuff that I had put them through, all the heartaches that I put them through when I was just being a young adolescent and stuff like that. So 2020 was just like, hey, I'm gonna write the chapter and I'm gonna flip the script. That was the biggest thing. So
yes, I totally relate to that. You are the author of your own story.
Exactly.
And certain things, they don't even deserve to be a chapter. They could just be a sentence.
Right. For
Never
sure.
forget that you're in control. But speaking about all of these prior years, how was 2022 for you as we're wrapping it up now?
Oh man, 2022 was so fun. 2022 and 2021 is like 1 year in itself, just because I started making music again in 2021 summer. But 2022 was definitely I had a lot of ups and downs. I got my hand tattooed from this dude named Dylan. I met him in 2021, and then 2022, we were supposed to link on my birthday. Then that's when I first got COVID, so I couldn't get the second tattoo till like March. And Dylan DeMarcus, rest in peace his soul, he also had a podcast and stuff. He just always like upped me up on game. He was one of the biggest influential people that I've met in such a short period of time. It's so crazy. And plus, you know, getting tattooed, it's like you have that intimacy of like you're trusting that person with your body.
Right.
I just trusted him off the bat. You know, he was so welcoming. He was such a dope person. So I'm going to Ohzii's house, right? I'm going to do a photo shoot for one of his mixtapes. X comes and picks me up from the BART station, and then I just look at my Instagram. One of my boys like had posted that he passed away, and I was just like, what the fuck? This isn't supposed to happen. This is like one of my heroes as of recently. You know what I'm saying? Just because I've lost already a ton of people and stuff like that. For him, that was like super big, and it definitely took a toll on me just because of those conversations that we had. He was so encouraging of anything that I did creatively because I've shared my creative endeavors with him, and he was just all for it.
It sounds like he came into your life right when you needed it the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. First of all, my condolences. I'm
Thank you.
really, sorry to hear that. And, with you talking about this loss and how you've experienced other losses in the past. I don't know if you've recently seen the Black Panther, but just...
You know, it's funny. I seen that on Friday.
Oh, good.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I don't even want to spoil it on here. No.
I just brought it up because the theme of grieving and how to handle losses like that. I'm curious what your advice would be as to how to handle losing somebody close to you, especially in such a sudden way.
I would say the best thing is just not to necessarily like be numb from the situations, but do things what you were doing, act more accordingly to those things. But also there's more of a motive and there's more of a message behind it now that you have these sudden losses in your life. There was a point in time where I wasn't either recording music or even writing music just because I was in such disparity. I was just in such shock that he was gone. And then Ohziii called me up and he was like, hey dude, I know you wanted to drop your... I was supposed to drop my project in April. So then he was like, yo dude, like you were supposed to drop your project. What happened? And then I just opened up to him and, he said a prayer and like, that was the first time I ever really like cried with the homie. You know what I mean? He said a prayer and then just, those words were so impactful that I'm just shedding the tears. And that's another big thing was to whatever emotions that I'm in, just hone to those feelings, feel those feelings because all these feelings are temporary. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Let me sit in this sadness right quick because this is what I need to go through. But also don't pull yourself down into this rabbit hole because you still got to climb to wherever you got to go.
I think it's important to recognize that you're not alone in what you're feeling.
Yeah.
There are other people who are grieving, and there's other people who can uplift you, and you have a community, and it can be easy in those dark moments. Your mind kind of tricks itself into thinking that nobody understands, or it's just not worth talking about, or if you just bottle it up inside, it'll somehow help you. But as you can see, you weren't really releasing it, and that was kind of a blockage that kept you from releasing music. Mm-hmm. Now, on the subject of your music, I know that you've recently released some tracks. Could you let us know a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So the first single that I dropped is called Any Given Season, and I named it that just so that I could be relentless in any given season. And if you look at the artwork, there's 4 different pictures of me all in one frame. To represent those seasons, right? The seasons of, fall, winter, whatever. Or just seasons of anything. Seasons of emotions. Seasons of whatever the case may be. It was also an ode to my old self because the way that, like, I rapped on there was, like, basically where I had left off. They say, like, oh, if you're good at something, you're just as good as your last project. I felt what that was. I had this old song called BSLB, which is short for Boom Shakalaka Boom. That's like the next transition of what that was. The other single was called Creeps. I released it pretty much the weekend of Halloween. If you listen to the beat, it's very like October spooky like. As far as like the message goes, it's like, hey dude, this is my soul and this is my aura that's creeping into this scene or whatever.
And listening to your music, I can definitely hear that 90s, 80s freestyle, you know, influence, and especially just like the California party influence. But
for sure,
I want to ask you yourself, what would you say are your biggest artistic influences as far as music goes?
Man, there's so many. Like they try to compare like LeBron James to like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I have like favorite rappers in different eras.
Okay, let's hear them.
Yeah. So 90s for sure, I would have to go with like Pac, Big L. Huge fan of Big L. I could listen to his freestyles for days because it's like it's so witty and it's so raw. This is the birth of hip hop, so it's like things are very like new, and so like people are very experimental. That was the word. Yeah. Big L, Tupac, hieroglyphics for sure. Huge Hyro fan. A+ out of all of them is my favorite rappers. Breaking down like their rhyme schemes, I was always such a huge fan of how crazy they could bend these words back and forth. Other than that, the last one I would have to say is like Eminem.
Yes.
Yeah, he's more so 2000s. That's when I was like around like 10, and that's when I really started to kind of understand things a little more. As far as like 2000s, oof, man, that was like very like mainstream. For sure, Ludacris is one of my favorites. Ludacris is one of my favorites. Basically, anyone that had a lot of character to them. They were still like this, right? Like very Busta Rhymes-y, but like it was in the 2000s. Missy Elliott's like another huge one too.
Yeah.
Anyone that was like underneath the Timbaland production, fire.
They all need to come back. I'm like, where's Ludacris been?
Yeah, man, he's been getting his acting bag, you know?
Oh, yeah.
As far as 2010s, it's pretty obvious that it's between Kendrick and J. Cole. As far as relating to the project that I got going on, it's very like self-reflective. I'm talking about my story a lot. I learned a lot of that from the transparency of what Kendrick was doing and what J. Cole was doing. They had like those certain tracks for like the radio and stuff like that, but then they also had Nobody's Perfect by J. Cole, you know what I'm saying, with Missy Elliott, those type of things.
Just feel good music.
Yeah, it's, you know, just switching up the tempo. We're all made up of water, and you know, those vibrations, I understand those type of things now. So
just being conscious in the art that you create. On that subject, as many of you know, we just recently lost Takeoff a few weeks ago with that tragic murder.
Crazy.
And with his death, along with PNB Rock, Young Dolph, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been speaking on just the state of rap as an industry, as a community, as a culture, and the violence that has been perpetuated and how it's taking out an artist, it seems like, every month.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, and how do you think that things could change?
Who you hang around, that's definitely a big part of it. I'm someone that was never into like being a gangster or having a gun with me or none of that stuff like that, right? But unfortunately, I'm gonna be around certain environments where there will be certain situations like that, and I understand that. I just believe that as long as your aura is up to a degree to where it'll withstand those certain situations, as long as you're aligned with what you got going on, you're not really counting your days, you're living it day by day. It's very unfortunate. That's another reason why I'm making the music that I make. We can get so caught up in popping bottles and going to the club and whatever. In my early 20s, I thought that was the life, to get a VIP table and to show out. And then at the end of the day, I would go home and I'm like, bro, I'm still broke. Just me being in my early 20s, I just had to really find myself. That was the biggest thing. I always knew who I was. It was just a matter of expressing it.
And so do you feel like art was your biggest means of finding yourself?
Yes and no. You know, I'm still writing music, even though I'm damn near done with the project that I'm doing right now. I just like the musical aspect of the therapeutic side of things, because I'm not here to say that I lost a lot of friends or anything like that. People have their own separate lives or whatever. People are graduating, having kids, getting married, whatever. I'm just trying to be creative. That's never left me. And my biggest thing this year specifically was to timestamp those things. Timestamp my times of sorrow. Timestamp my times of happiness, depression, whatever the case may be. Because at the end of the day, like, I'm literally like journaling my feelings.
So when you say timestamp, you mean you make music in these times?
Yeah, like through my times of like whatever the case may be. I just want to be able to reflect upon that. Like, dude, holy shit, I was in some crazy ish back then. It's the same thing with designing too. I remember like when I made my first pair of pants, when I got the formula down. I remember this pair of pants was when I was watching a certain football game. I put it together and I was like, whoa, I actually got it down. That correlates to my music too, because my biggest thing was, dude, I keep rapping like I'm in 2014. And not to say that it's a bad thing, but I'm just saying like I can grow from an artist.
Yeah.
From being the artist that I was. That was the ultimate goal, was to find the sound. So those first few tracks was really like me finding it. It was up to my standard of where like this is still dope enough to me to put out.
Your music and even your clothes, all the art that you create, it tells a story in that way.
Yeah.
It's your way of tracking your progress.
Yeah, definitely.
When can fans expect to get that project?
That is a great question. I was expecting to drop it in December. It being so personal, I've listened to that thing like 1,000 times just because it means so much to me. Just being able to say that I've accomplished it. It's there. I'm doing my last mixing session with Ohziii, and I'm probably going to do like one more session.
And then another one after that, or?
No. Just one more. I mean, you know how it is as an artist. Like, you just keep holding on to your things. And it's just because it's so valuable to me.
So personal, yeah.
It's so personal. And it just means a lot to me. Just because I'm so proud of myself even going through the lengths of unlocking this new character of myself. By pulling these strings, right? Because, like, being in tune with my emotions, I'm very proudful to say that like I was able to take the initiative of putting those emotions into these certain tracks.
No, I totally feel you. And something that I hear artists say a lot is that once you release the art, it's not really yours anymore, you know?
Yeah.
It's for the public to consume and get their own opinions. And only you will truly know when it is done, when it's completed. Now, on the other side of that, as somebody who I personally struggle with perfectionism and just wanting it to be as amazing as it possibly can be.
Yes.
You know, I have to tell myself that done is better than perfect.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Be perfect.
Yeah, no, definitely. A lot of the things that I did was very experimental. Ohziii helped me a lot. Like, oh, hey, why don't you try this? Oh, why don't you try this? At first, it's not that I would hate it. I'm just not used to it. So I would listen to that like over and over and over and over, right? And then like it's gone to the point where I like this. Like I can't even front. Shout out to Ohziii, because at the end of the day, it takes me to take that out of myself. Like he also still had me question those things of artistry.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're very blessed to just attract really positive connections where you guys motivate each other, but it's almost like a mentorship. Like you're building off each other and building each other up. It's very rare. Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit more about your connection with Ohziii?
Yeah, so it's crazy. So Ohziii actually got a new dog, Zooty, the mascot, and he got him as a puppy. So I was like, hey dude, is it cool if I take pictures of you and your dog? And he was like, yeah bro, it's good. Because one of the last events that I went to was actually their event. I didn't even know that it was their event. It just also happened that it was their event. So yeah, I go to the studio that we did that fashion show at. Started kicking it there, and then I also wanted to learn how to gain monetary gain besides like a 9-to-5. So like I was learning about like stocks and like crypto around that time. It just transcended from there. And yeah, I'm just glad that him and his brother were very welcoming to take these risks. When summer happened in August, me and X were like, yo, you want to do a fashion show? At first it was a pop-up. It wasn't even a fashion show. That's how I started really hanging out with X and Ohziii a lot more. And then they had a ZOOTYWATER event. That's when had met them. And then that's kind of how things had transcended. We had the fashion show and the energy was so infectious in there. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to start designing. It was just so infectious. And I'm super thankful for that.
Yeah,
I'm super thankful for that, for real.
I'm thankful for them too. And you know, for you as well, what I was gonna ask is, do you guys consider yourself a collective? Unified, or?
I think we just know that we're all dope in our own unique ways. We're not really a collective, but we're definitely friends for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't take away anything from the value of our relationship. We all know what's up, you know, because we meet so many people within our creative bubble. But at the end of the day, those are the few people that I have been fortunate enough to still have family ties with. Yeah.
And what are your goals for the future artistically when it comes to the music, the designing?
Yeah, so new sewing machine, it's that time, and I want to venture into outerwear. I don't want to say my ideas too much.
Right.
Definitely outerwear is something that I want to at least have a foundation for. Growing up and watching like these hip hop videos, it's like we always have a hoodie and like a puff jacket, or a hoodie and like a denim jacket, and I want to have those stapled pieces. I want people to be like, bro, like 2023 when Cam dropped that drop, man, or when such and such is now wearing that in the video, you know what I'm saying? I want people to reflect on those pieces the way that I reflect on them, like when I make them at those moments. I have such a bigger responsibility now that I notice that a lot more people are starting to see it. As far as the music is concerned, I poured a lot of myself into this project, man. There was a time when like it was like I was writing the song. As I wrote the song, I'm like, okay, this is definitely the last song that I'm gonna write because I'm just taking too much out of myself. And I need to start taking care of myself. Because you can be so in the moment of just like keep on creating. I'm not really mentally making sure that I'm okay, right? My thing was, I've poured myself so much into the craft, I didn't even realize like, oh shit, I'm done. And I'm pretty sure you have those moments too as a creative where it's just like, yo, like this has been a project for so long and it's finally there.
Yes.
That helped me refine some of those tracks, freshen them up a little bit. So I'm just splashing little details here and there. I love having like sonic remembrance in things. Like when you hear the Muni, it's like you hear the beep, like you know that's the Muni. It's like the subway sound. Like those type of things. I want people to understand that there's things that are there for a reason. I'm big on like details, you know what I'm saying? Like I love details, you know? Yeah, my project is called Color Outside the Lines. There's so much more in the picture than what you may seem, and that just goes within how I treat people too. I may know you, but it's like I don't know what's going on in there. I really live by that name, and that was supposed to be my original mixtape name back in 2014. It just never happened. Once I started rapping again, it was just like so organically like there.
Definitely important to recognize as a creative, you got to remember that you're a human and you're not a machine.
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
You know, I've definitely had times where I just wanted to be as productive as possible. And just keep on working, keep on editing, keep on creating, you know, but then you got to recognize that, like, okay, you're also a person. You have to have a balance, you know, like that's your fuel. You can't just put all of your energy and all of your thing and, you know, in one place. It's going to have you burnt. Yes. That's the last thing you want communicated in your art is how burnt out and tired you are.
Yeah, and with that last track, that's why, like, that song meant a lot to me because it was like, okay, if this is going to be the last song that I write for this, I need to give it my everything. And that's how it came out. I wasn't even going to write the whole song at first because I thought like, oh, this is too of like what my influence is. I was like, nah. And then I just started writing the verse and I was like, man, I'm just going to finish this shit. And then boom, if it weren't for that, I would have never gone to feature. So sometimes you gotta pull yourself to do great things in order to have great things happen back to you.
I totally agree. Aside from your artistic expression and reaching out to your community, your friends, what are some other means that you take for improving your mental health when you have those dark moments?
Oh, yeah. Ultimately, like, when I do understand that, like, I'm running at a wall or something like that, my thing is, where I stay at, I don't have a window. My room doesn't have a window. So, like, my biggest thing is that I don't see the sun when I create. I don't see the sun go down when I create. I don't see the moon or none of that, right? So, I just make sure that I take intervals of, like, breaths, going outside, going to the corner store or whatever's nearby. Yeah, and just, you know, how you said, like, we be working like machines sometimes. I gotta really just, like, whoa, dude, like, you're about to just explode. You really need fresh air. I really love fresh air. 2021, 2022, I've just been really focused on the music. And my designing too, but mainly the music because it coincides with each other. I seen Travis Scott try to sew when he did the Dior thing and he really sucked at it.
What words of advice do you have for other creatives out there as far as expressing your emotions, connecting with others, handling struggles, anything else you want to put out there to the collective?
Don't be afraid to speak your truth. Even though the truth may be ugly at times, it's better than hiding from what is reality. Also, use those certain emotions. It's a lot easier said than done, but once you pour those emotions towards any of your creative endeavors, 9 times out of 10, it's one of the most beautiful things that you would ever create. I learned to understand that through the journey of me recording music again. Yeah.
Very insightful. Thank you so much for your time and for just dropping all of this wisdom. Where can our listeners and our viewers out there find you online?
C4MR, the acronym advocate, the 4-letter finisher, you feel me? Out on all platforms. I just also wanted to say it is definitely an honor to be here. Not just to be here on this platform, but to be here in general. To be here to still breathe, to still do the things that I do. So as long as I'm still here, I'm still blessed, and I still need to do these things because I'm not here to count my days. I'd rather just pour into these things and let those things immortalize my mortality.
Yes. This is our legacy that we're leaving behind.
Exactly.
And you never know how many people you're going to inspire just by being yourself and putting yourself out there. I totally agree with you. And I have so much gratitude to be here as well, especially with you.
Man, likewise.
Thank you so much.
For sure.
All right, then, y'all. Thank you so much for watching and listening. This has been NEOSOULED Radio with C4MR and your host, Kyrie Nashim, a.k.a. NEOSOULED. And remember, your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. Thank you. Peace out.
Bow.
Bow.